French shalom and greetings to you all. In just a few days it'll be Baruch's birthday, so let's all wish him a wonderful and special day. And of course, every day with him is a wonderful day. And just a few days ago, it was Remembrance Day in Canada and all of Britain's Commonwealth countries, Veterans Day in the United States, and Armistice Day in Europe. So it's a pretty important time to honor those who fought for freedom, for king and country. Now, we must honor those that gave their lives for all of us to enjoy the lives that we have. We must always remember, as we do when we hold our public yizkor, or remembrance services, so that we do honor those who came before. And in addition to our normal 4 times a year memorial service, the yizkor, at our annual Festival of Light service coming up in December, we will be having a memorial, as we do every year, and lighting candles for all of you who send in the names of those you have lost and want a candle lit for. So start sending in your names now, and we'll compile our list. Now, over the years, my friends, too many lives have been lost, as there have been too many wars. Far too many. And certainly some of the longest, bloodiest, and most brutal have been in the name of God, perhaps more than any other purpose. Entire civilizations have been wiped out in his name. In last week's and this week's and in future readings, we see hints of some of these ancient wars in the name of God. In fact, while not included in the official biblical canon, there was a book of Wars of the Lord, Sefer Milchamiot Adonai. That's mentioned only once in Numbers, but described many of the Lord's battles, and many songs have been sung in glorification of the same, and many parts of that book have been found over the years. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never sound retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Now, of course, that one is a very famous song about God's battles. Now, as a community of humanity, we always gather and honor the fallen and pray that it does not happen again. And, of course, as a community, we gather, our group of like-minded, like-souled fellows, seeking unification of spirit. That's not a religious thing, my friends. It's a human thing. The collective consciousness of seekers coming together and showing of faith, of love, a community, a chavura, a fellowship, expressing our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes that unites us all in this community house of spirit, Beth Ruach. So once again, please do go ahead and invite everybody, physically, psychically, emotionally, or spiritually, to gather and share from Psalm 133, Hine Matov. Come together. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community. 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 Together. Because as a community, my friends, we do come together and we spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the world. Remember, this is your setting aside just a little bit of your own sacred time in your sacred space to honor and converse with whoever, whatever you happen to believe in. It's a part of your kavanah, your intention for, what you put out into the universe, that it's your goodwill. No. And let's all send some of that extra goodwill that we have out, because we use it to invoke healing and renewal for people. It floats through space, finding those in need. We don't know who's going to need it. We can think of some people, but it's going to affect other people too. So send it out for those you know and for the souls and spirits of everybody you love. So think of whoever that needs healing and renewal and love, or just plain goodwill. Focus on them. Call their names. It's not just for people. It's for our pets. It's for the earth. It is the healing of the world. The tikkun olam that's part of our spiritual genetic makeup. Let's send thoughts and energy for health and renewal for everybody in need. For those in our hearts and our minds, for Kim and Kit, for Tally and Ellie, for Paige and David, for the Star Master, for Ishtar and Alex, for Chris, and always for the bee. Friends, it is the kindness, healing, wishes, goodwill, and love we all send out. It circles the world finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit, and spirit, my friends, never dies. Shabbat, Avotenu, Bakor HaBracha, May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. Let us sing. Amen. Yishu Baruch, let us all have our spirits renewed, my friends. This is a great prayer for healing, which we call upon God to heal as He is healed before me. Yishu Baruch, may He who blessed. Let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy, because blessing and healing energy go hand in hand. It's our efforts to love, to share, to care, to grow together. Now, last week, we met a very important family in the Bible, and this week, once again, so many incredible events transpire around that family. We get the great Annunciation, evidenced by the fact of barrenness, the promise of a son by God or angel or holy man, and the fulfillment of the promise in conception and birth, as we see a son is promised to Abraham and the barren Sarah. We see judgment pronounced on Sodom and Gomorrah. They're destroyed. But Abraham's nephew Lot and his family are saved. We have the second of the three She's My Sister episodes, but this time with an interesting confession from Abraham that Sarah really is his sister. Genesis 20:12. In point of fact, she is my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's daughter, and she became my wife. We then have the birth of Isaac, and we see Hagar and Ishmael, Abraham's other wife and son, sent away because Sarah wants them gone. And then Abraham is commanded to take and sacrifice Isaac. In the reading known as the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, the quintessential reading in Judaism. Now, we know all of those stories. We grew up with them. We all have heard those Bible stories. Some we know a little better than others, but they're all familiar to us. What you may not realize is this is the busiest section of the Bible for the introduction and exposure to angels. They are everywhere in this whole parsha. As this week we read, Vayera, and he appeared. Genesis 18:1, and the Lord appeared to him in the terebinths of Mamre when he was sitting by the tent flap in the heat of the day. He raised his eyes and saw, and look, 3 men were standing before him. Now, as I said, you're going to see way more angels in this parsha than anywhere else in the Bible. God is standing there with 2 of his angels, and we see the great hospitality of Abraham, a trait handed down from that day forward. There's been much debate as to who really stood there. The implication is it's God, but there's 3 of them. So is it angels? Is it God? Is it God and angels? It may not be well defined, but belief is it's God, and you can see that when the Sodom and Gomorrah discussion begins and when he tells Abraham that Sarah will have a son. And he said, I will sure, well, that was somebody quite interested in calling. And he said, I will surely return to you at this very season, and look, a son shall Sarah your wife have. And Sarah was listening at the tent flap which was behind them, and Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah no longer had her woman's flow. And Sarah laughed inwardly, saying, after being shriveled, shall I have pleasure, and my husband is old? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why is it that Sarah laughed, saying, "Shall I really give birth, old as I am? Is anything beyond the Lord? In due time I will return to you, this very season, and Sarah shall have a son." And Sarah dissembled, saying, "I did not laugh, for she was afraid." And he said, "Yes, you did laugh." Did Sarah really think God wasn't paying attention or wouldn't be aware? Anyhow, the two angels who were with God head off, and God's left standing talking with Abraham. Because in those days, God spoke to whoever he wanted on a one-to-one basis. And he tells him his plans for Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham stepped forward and said, "Will you really wipe out the innocent with the guilty?" Now, what a question. While you cannot see it in translation, in the Hebrew, the term Sadiq is used. Now, it has a legal usage as the party judged not guilty in a court of law, though it normally has the moral meaning of righteous, which is the meaning that we usually ascribe to it. Similarly, the term here for guilty, Rasha, also means wicked. Now, we know there's not enough righteous people. So Abraham's attempt at bargaining is really doomed to fail. And God knows it, but continues the banter anyhow. And then we read, "It rained brimstone and fire from the Lord from the heavens." Now that underscores the connection with the flood story, because the first time God destroyed the world by water, and he said the next time would be by fire, and here it is, fire. Well, the angels, before Sodom and Gomorrah are rained down with fire and brimstone, tell Lot and his family to run away. And they're going to save them. Right? Those are the only people who are going to be saved in both those cities. Genesis 19:24. Flee for your life. Don't look behind you and don't stop anywhere. And his wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. If it's love that you're running from, there is no hiding place. You can't run. You can't hide. You can't run. Just your problems. No one else's problems. You just have to face. You can't run. You can't hide. You can't run. So if you just put your hand in mine, we're gonna leave all our troubles behind. Gonna walk, don't look back. Don't look back. Gonna walk and don't look back. Don't look back. Now, to this day, my friends, our dipping of challah and salt is a reminder of God's word, and strength, and gifts and power, not to look back. Not to the past, my friends, but to look instead to the future. Now, this whole section's great, but because of time constraints, I'm not going to talk much more about it. And I'm not going to talk about Lot's amazing offer to the townspeople and the resulting karma that he creates when his daughters seduce him and get pregnant by him. So if you haven't read that before, you're going to want to read it now. It really is incredible. So let's move on instead now to the miracle birth that was predicted at the beginning of this. Genesis 21:2. And Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age at the set time that God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised Isaac, his son, when he was 8 days old, as God had charged him. A promise made, a promise kept. Abraham and Sarah are parents. He then drives Hagar and Ishmael away on order from Sarah, setting the tone now for the reading known as the Akedah. And this is going to be the second time that God's going to direct Abraham to a place that he will show. Genesis 22:1. And it happened after these things that God tested Abraham. And he said to him, Abraham. He said, here I am. And he said, take, pray your son, your only one, whom you love, Isaac, and go forth to the land of Moriah, and offer him up as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I shall say to you. And the same thing when he told him to leave his home. God said to Abraham, kill me a son. Abe said, man, you must be putting me on. God said, no. Abe said, what? God said, you can do what you want, Abe, but next time you see me coming, you better run. Well, Abe said, where do you want this? Kill it done. God said, out on Highway 61. Now, you probably noticed there's an Abraham missing. It was a double name calling, as was written in the Greek and Samaritan versions of the Bible, Abraham, Abraham. But here it only said his name once. But we see the famous answer always given, I am here. And you're going to see this whole section again shortly, the double name calling and the answer. So we know it's a significant thing. Now, as I told you before, the double name calling heralds a life-altering event. He had one when told to leave his father's home. He has one now, and he's going to have another one. Now, this one marks the near sacrifice as a defining event in Abraham's life, as well it will be. And although not called by name, it is the defining moment of Isaac's life, and forever becomes defining in the destiny of his descendants. Now, Abraham's being directed to one of the most famous defining places in the world. And I was fortunate enough to have spent most of this past summer walking and looking out at it every morning, actually. What we see, as we saw before, the mark of Abraham's personality is in obedience to God. God tells him to do something and he does it. He will obey anything that his God commands him to do. Leave your land, leave your birthplace, leave your father's home. Circumcise yourself, your son, your household. Circumcise your new son at 8 days old. Even if he's commanded to sacrifice his child, he will do it. There's no arguments. There's no questions. He hears the voice of God and follows. We all hear the voice of God, but most of us ask for ID, and when it's not presented, we ignore it. Genesis 22:4. On the third day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from a distance. Now, while in Israel, I was fortunate enough to have a wonderful guide, and the two of us went on the self-same journey. And I stood there, and I took the path that Abraham would have had to take, and I looked up to see what he saw. And almost 4,000 years of history stood still. Now, this story is more than just about the word of God, the binding of Isaac and the near sacrifice. This is about one of the most powerful of all relationships. We see the relationship of father and son played out. And what was still is after all this time. How can I try to explain? When I do, he turns away. Again, it's always been the same old story. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. It's not time to make a change. Just relax and take it slowly. You're still young. It's your fault. There's so much you have to go through. Find a girl. Settle down. If you want to, you can marry. Look at me. I'm old, but I'm happy. The interplay between father and son. For thousands of years, fathers and sons have spoken to each other in different languages. So much time and relationships have been lost as a result. And time, my friends, can never be replaced. Call your father. Call your son. And Isaac said to Abraham, his father, Father! And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Here's the fire and the wood, but where is the sheep for the offering? And Abraham said, God will see to the sheep for the offering, my son. And the two of them went together. They came to the place that God had said to him, and Abraham built there an altar and laid out the wood and bound Isaac his son and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. And an angel of the Lord called out to him from the heavens and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. Don't put your hand out towards the boy, and don't do anything to him, because now I know that you fear God, and you didn't withhold your son, your only one, from me. Now, wow, what a test for fear. It's more than that. Then we're told that Abraham went back to his boys, the servants who came with him. Genesis 22:19. And Abraham went back to his boys, and they got up and they went to Beersheba, and Abraham lived in Beersheba. Notice it says Abraham went back. The text does not mention Isaac going back. And Abraham had specifically said to the boys, We'll come back to you. We'll, but it's only him who comes back. Now, both Midrash and critical scholarship have dared to raise the possibility that in one version of the story, Abraham actually sacrifices Isaac. Following the Akedah, Isaac and Abraham are never quoted as speaking to each other. What do you think took place on that mountain? Yes, my friends, the world is sacred, so is everything in it. Express your gratitude. Light a candle, make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, and be blessed. Share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send to everybody you know love, goodwill. Pray for peace and freedom for them, for you, for everyone. An end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we are a community. We learn together. We celebrate each other. We love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. Let's send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. And please do. Learn to forgive and learn to love, including yourself. Open your hearts and honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have. Enjoy the journey. We take twists and turns in the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Now bless you all. Have a great week, a week of love and light, a week of peace, a week of miracles. Examine your intentions and use them to imprint your will on the universe, because we set in motion everything that happens in our lives. Our intention, our kavana, our cause, our effect, everything's linked. As I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You have the knowledge of what's good and bad. So acknowledge what you've done wrong to yourself, to God, and to any person you've wronged, and ask forgiveness. But do so with sincerity, with accountability, and vulnerability. Forgive those who've hurt you, and you'll learn to be forgiving and compassionate, because the secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace, my friends, is all in acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people, in the world as they are? Can you accept life as it is without trying to control it? If you do that, you're going to experience the peace that acceptance brings. So do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land, your home. Keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching, keep spreading joy and goodwill. Never follow fear. Follow love, because it's always in front of you. And remember to have faith, an unwavering adherence to principle, just as I have faith in the principle of love and all of you. Act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none, defraud none, hate none. Cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all people know peace in this year. And may you nurture kindness and love everywhere you go. Work to be present in the body, expand the heart, quiet the mind, because the deepest source of real power lies in consciousness and the ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. Make the most of your time in life. Continue to touch and transform lives around you. You're never alone. You're forever blessed and have the ability to bring blessings to everybody you meet. Health, love, renewal to everybody you come across. We're all energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Your words are your power to transform, to love, to bless. So be generous with them. Bless others and bless yourself, because we're all part of a greater whole. Love with your hearts. Embrace love, not fear, forgiveness, not anger, and be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you, whether you know it or not. Continue to explore faith and belief and how it suits you, and never accept shame as a natural state. Whatever you feel others have felt, whatever you've experienced, others have too. We share together. We learn together. We help each other. We are each of us trying to find love and acceptance and support in our lives. We all have or could have that special someone, so find them and tell them what they mean. And remember, you're never alone on your journey to your promised land. Watch your words. They hurt you, they heal you, they imprison you, and they free you. Keep forgiving those you need to forgive. It's the most important thing you can do. And ask forgiveness when you have to. right? And listen to the voice of God as he, she, it, whatever, talks to you. Because you will be called upon at some point. You may like to drink whiskey. You might like to blow smoke. May have money and power. Or you may be broke. You may think you're living. You may think you're dead. Maybe sleeping on nails. Maybe sleeping in a feather bed. But you're gonna have to serve somebody. Yes, indeed, you're gonna have to serve somebody. It may be the devil. It may be the Lord, but you're gonna have to serve somebody. And you will be called upon, and you will have a choice, my friends. One of the greatest of our gifts, choice. And you can choose the light, or you can choose the dark. We make our own lives. Now have a wonderful week, and I will see you all again soon. Shabbat shalom, and blessings to you all. Take care.